Hello one, hello all, it is the gothiest ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh. It's time for a review of Taylor Swift Midnights. Taylor Swift is back, and this is a surprise album, because I was surprised. I was surprised to know this album is coming out. Maybe the Swifties had more insight on this than I did, but I did not. And gotta be honest, it's pretty safe to say I was never a huge Taylor Swift fan in the beginning. I do, however, enjoy her newer releases, such as Evermore, such as Folklore, and I even enjoy her reissues of Red and Fearless. I enjoyed how she definitely did some touch-ups on that from like a Sonic perspective. And speaking of Sonic, she has teamed up with none other than Jack Antonoff, one of a great producer of our time, coming through with some great pop records on the production end. And going into this, I was excited because I did feel like Taylor has definitely made progress as a songwriter throughout the years. I feel like sonically it's become more enjoyable. So I thought that it would be more consistent here. But this album just screams it sounded a lot better in my head than in the headphones or on the speakers. A majority of the time. Like, it's like they're trying to go postal service, but they're failing on the delivery here. And there are textures, but they're flavorless. And it's like a buffet of like synth pop, but I'm only finding like delectable pieces very rarely here. It's like, that's not very flavorful. That's not very flavorful. This is actually pretty good. And it takes me a while until I get another one, until I get some flavor again. And yeah, it's just a really very, very tedious experience to my musical taste buds. Also, I don't think there's much of a direction thematically here either that we haven't really heard from Taylor before, where she's drawing the narrative as her as the one who was wronged, or her as, you know, the antagonist of her own story. And there's not really much to it. In fact, there's probably worse songs with that narrative on here, which we will get into. Also, there's like super cringy lyrics on here. Like talking about kissing someone, question about kissing someone in a crowded room. And what would you do if all your friends were laughing at you? And then they're clapping. What would you do? I'm like, how much thought went into this? Like, I feel like she's trying to be cheeky here, but it's not funny. Or I do feel like she's trying to come up with something meaningful, but it doesn't hit emotionally. It's just a miss here. And she just really comes through with these annoying staccato flows on here. And the vocals just sound really lifeless, very processed, and the production just sounds like synth pop wallpaper. And then we get the way too self-serious Vigilante. Oh, God. Where she says she's not dressing for women, she's not dressing for men, she is dressing for revenge. And I feel like she's trying to paint herself as this vindictive badass, but in actuality, it's just really narcissistic materialism. And I just don't really think that what she's going for in terms of being vindictive really goes over well, especially with the cliche lyrics, one after another. And with a very uneventful, non-sexy, minimal electronic beat. It's just very underwhelming. Very underwhelming surface level lyrics. And honestly, I was hoping for more hits on this, but instead I got like a bunch of misses. But even though there was like weak production here and there are some highlights that we will get into. But I just like a majority of the time, if it's not the bad production, it's the lyrics falling flat. And I feel like the synths here, like, while they should be creating a groove, they should be creating a feeling, they just come off as like synth pop decoration. Like sonic decoration, and opposed to something tangible that I could feel, something that makes me want to move, something that makes me want to just enter in a new world. But unfortunately, I don't get that. And I knew right from the jump, when I heard Lavender Haze with these weak drums that barely have a presence here, very bland, droning synth bass, it just feels so tedious and emotionally flat. And which leads to You're on Your Own, Kid. It just sounds like it could have been good. It could have been good until we got this super weak synth lead on here. I don't know what was going on there, but it needed a do-over. It needed a do-over. It needed more care. It needed more care. And Midnight Rain just sounds like a weaker version of Magdalena Bay with these super flat Portal-like synths. And Bejeweled does have a sassy hook, but it doesn't really add up to a big finish. However, the song Antihero has a nice synthy punchy beat to it, where Taylor really comes through with some clever lyrics where, for example, like, when my depression works the graveyard shift, all the people I've ghosted stand there in the room. And vocally, I feel like she has a presence here. I feel like the production sounds epic, like it really is fitting what it's going for. And the song is like recognizing her antagonistic, self-loathing complex and the toxicity in her nature. Even if the lyrics, everybody being a sexy baby, was kind of weird, kind of awful, but still, we will let that slide. Let that slide on this one. And first time I got a taste of this was her collab with Lana Del Rey, which I was iffy on at first. When I first heard it, I didn't feel like it hit as hard. But I did find it interesting due to the fact that on Folklore, she definitely did pull from Lana a little bit. So I thought that'd be interesting. And I do love the sentiment. I do love the plucky strings, the reverb guitars. And like here she's talking about this connection of this lover where she feels like the relationship has been tarnished by her, but yet the love and admiration for her is still there. And she feels there's a bit of a connection there. It's like nothing short of like a miracle. And I do love the glistening synth arpeggios on the hook too. I guess that's the Snow on the Beach. And the song Labyrinth really comes together really well with these nice synth bits, very dreamy production, really bright, warbly synth arpeggios with these futuristic church-like organs, with a hook that like has a nice catchy build-up to it, and the progressing synth lines on here, horn lines on here. We're doing it raw because I'm reading this. Really adds a nice touch to it. Really adds that epic feel, that climax that it's going for. And vocally, she kind of reminds me of a mix of Phoebe Bridgers and Beach House on here. So it's like Phoebe Bridgers lyrically and Beach House production-wise. Great combination. Wish we had more of this. And Sweet Nothing is a very tender, dreamy moment here, and a nice closer too. It really has character here, because I feel like the playful bouncy synth keys, nice touches of horns, sweet harmonies, it really gives it the feeling that like Taylor is done with the night and the sun is rising, it's a new day, and this closes up midnight because we have daylight. So yeah, honestly, the tracks on here that hit, I wish there was more here that hit, but yeah, we just got some of her weakest writing yet on here, some of her worst production yet on here. I wish the production was better. And yeah, I'm not gonna say this album's terrible. It's not gonna end up on my worst album of the year list, so Swifties, you don't have to worry about that. But it's definitely not one of her best. And I'm feeling a 2.5 out of 5 hearts on this. But that's just my opinion. You've heard it. What did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know why. Taylor Swift, Midnight, Caspa, the Gothic Ghost. Till we meet again.